throwaway account because a few of my relatives actually use Reddit, and I don't want this connected to my main profile. I'm a 32-year-old guy living outside Seattle with my wife, Emily, 31. We've been married for 6 years and together for almost 10. My younger sister, Lauren, is 28. Before I explain why my family thinks I'm the biggest villain alive, I need to explain what our family has always been like. Growing up, Lauren was what people politely call the baby. I call her the golden child. She never really faced consequences for anything. If she broke something, I was expected to replace it.
If she got into trouble at school, my parents blamed the teachers. If she failed a class, it was because the professor had it out for her. Meanwhile, I was expected to be responsible. I worked after school starting at 16, paid for my own car, paid most of my own college expenses, graduated with an engineering degree, eventually landed a software engineering job that paid well. I didn't resent Lauren back then, at least not openly. I just accepted that some families aren't exactly fair. Then I met Emily. Emily changed my life. Not because she fixed me or anything dramatic. She simply treated me like I mattered. She listened. She supported my career. She challenged me when I was wrong. She celebrated every small victory. For the first time in my life, someone actually chose me. That's important later. 6 years ago, Emily was diagnosed with stage 2 Hodgkin lymphoma, cancer. She was 25. I remember sitting beside her hospital bed thinking I was going to lose the only person who had ever truly loved me. Treatment lasted almost a year. Chemo, radiation, hospital visits, hair loss, depression, medical bills, everything. I used almost every dollar I'd saved. I don't regret a penny. She survived. She's been cancer-free for over 5 years now. Every anniversary feels like winning the lottery. You'd think my family would have become closer after watching that. Instead, something strange happened. My parents always treated Emily politely, but never warmly. Birthdays, forgotten. Christmas, cheap gift card, family vacations. We only have room for immediate family. Apparently, after 6 years of marriage, Emily still wasn't immediate family. Emily noticed. She never complained. She'd simply smile and say, "They don't have to love me. They just have to respect us." God, she's a better person than I am. About 8 months ago, Lauren got engaged. Her fiancé, Jake, seems like a decent guy. Quiet, hardworking. Honestly, I sometimes wondered how he ended up with my sister. My parents immediately started planning the wedding, except they didn't have the money. Lauren wanted one of those Instagram weddings, historic venue, designer dress, professional florist, custom cocktails, live band, luxury photography. The estimated cost, almost $70,000. My parents laughed at first, then Lauren cried. Within 2 weeks. Guess who got invited over for dinner? Me, Emily, Mom, Dad, Lauren, Jake. Everyone smiling, everyone acting unusually nice. I should have known. Halfway through dinner, my mom looked at me. "You've always been successful." That sentence alone made my stomach tighten. Dad nodded. "We're proud of everything you've accomplished." Lauren smiled. "I've always looked up to you." I nearly laughed. That had literally never happened before. Then Dad cleared his throat. "We need a favor."
There it was. Lauren reached across the table. "I know it's a lot to ask." She paused dramatically. "But would you help pay for the wedding?" I asked how much. She slid a spreadsheet toward me. $25,000. I honestly thought she'd misplaced a decimal. Nope. 25,000. Emily squeezed my hand under the table. She knows my face better than anyone. She knew I wanted to say no. Instead, I asked why they needed me specifically. Dad answered, "You make good money." Mom added, "And family helps family." Funny how that sentence only appeared when someone needed my wallet. Jake looked uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. He quietly admitted he'd suggested scaling back the wedding. Lauren refused. "It has to be perfect." Of course, I asked for a few days to think. Everyone looked disappointed, except Emily. On the drive home, she didn't tell me what to do. She simply asked, "What do you want?" I stared through the windshield. "I don't know," she nodded. "You don't owe anyone an answer tonight." A week later, I agreed, sort of. I told Lauren I'd contribute up to $25,000, not cash directly. I'd pay vendors myself. Venue, photography, florist, whatever. She screamed with excitement, actually screamed. She hugged me. My mom cried. Dad shook my hand. Lauren called me the best brother ever. It felt nice for about 10 minutes. Then the request started. Could I also cover upgraded flowers? Could I pay for premium catering? Could I upgrade the honeymoon suite? Every conversation somehow ended with me spending more money. Emily finally asked, "Do you feel appreciated?" I answered honestly, "No." She smiled sadly. "Then why are you doing this?" I didn't have a good answer. Maybe because I spent my whole life trying to earn approval that was never coming. Fast forward to last month. Lauren organized a family barbecue, nothing fancy. Just relatives hanging out before the wedding. Emily and I brought homemade desserts. People loved them. Kids were running around, music playing. Everything seemed normal until family photos. Lauren hired a photographer to practice. Everyone gathered outside. The photographer started arranging people. Grandparents in front, parents behind them, siblings next, spouses beside each other. Normal. Then Lauren stopped everything. She looked directly at Emily. Oh, awkward smile. I was actually thinking immediate family only for this one. The photographer looked confused. Emily froze. I said, she is immediate family. Lauren laughed. No offense. Then she said the sentence I'll never forget. I mean, she's just someone you married. Silence. Complete silence. I honestly thought someone would correct her. Anyone. Instead, my mom said, she's talking about blood relatives. Dad nodded. It'll only take a minute. Emily looked at me. Not angry, not crying, just embarrassed. She quietly whispered, it's okay. No, it wasn't okay. Not after 10 years together. Not after she fought cancer while I held her hand every single day. Not after she became my family long before any wedding certificate. I looked at Lauren. If Emily isn't family, I paused. Then neither am I. I took Emily's hand. We left, no yelling, no scene, just left. My phone started exploding before we'd even reached the car. Mom calling, Dad texting, Lauren sending paragraphs. I ignored every message. That night, Emily apologized. She actually apologized. She said, I didn't want to ruin your relationship with your family. Imagine being treated like that and still worrying about me. That's when I realized something. I had spent my entire life protecting people who never protected us. I opened my laptop, logged into my banking account, opened every payment scheduled for Lauren's wedding. Venue canceled. Photographer canceled. Florist canceled. Catering deposit canceled. Almost $22,000 in future payments gone. I didn't leave a message. I didn't make an announcement. I simply decided, if my wife isn't family, then neither is my money. The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls, a voicemail from my dad, 6 messages from Lauren, and 1 text from Jake that simply read, please call me before you read anything in the family group chat. I didn't call anyone back that morning. Instead, I got ready for work like it was any other Tuesday. Emily noticed my phone vibrating every few seconds while I was making coffee. She looked at the screen. 47 missed calls? I nodded. She sighed. They finally noticed. That almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was exactly what happened. They didn't care when Emily was humiliated. They cared when the money disappeared. Around 9:30 a.m., my manager walked into my office. Everything okay? Apparently, my phone had been buzzing so much that people across the room could hear it. I stepped outside and finally opened the family group chat. Big mistake. There were over 300 messages. The first one was from Lauren. What did you do? The second one was from my mom. The venue called. They said the payment was canceled. Dad chimed in. Call us immediately. Then came the guilt. You embarrassed your sister. You made her cry. This isn't how family behaves. Not a single message mentioned Emily. Not one. About an hour later, my phone rang again. Jake, I answered. He sounded exhausted. I don't even know where to start. I asked him one question. Did Lauren tell you what happened at the barbecue? Silence. Long silence. Then he quietly said, no. That surprised me. I explained exactly what Lauren had said. Word for word. When I repeated, she's just someone you married. Jake didn't interrupt. He didn't defend Lauren. He just breathed into the phone. Finally, he said, she told everyone you canceled because you suddenly decided the wedding was too expensive. I laughed. Not happily, just in disbelief. So she'd already rewritten history. Classic Lauren. Jake apologized. Not for himself, for the situation. Then he admitted something that completely changed how I saw him. I never wanted this wedding. What? I wanted something small. He explained that he'd suggested a ceremony with about 80 guests. Lauren wanted over 300. He wanted a local venue. She wanted a historic mansion. He wanted a honeymoon in Oregon. She wanted Italy. Every compromise somehow became his compromise. I've been working overtime for months, he admitted. I still can't afford what she wants. For the first time, I genuinely felt bad for him. That evening, my parents showed up at our house, without calling. Dad knocked so hard I thought he was trying to break the door. Emily looked at me. Do you want me here? I shook my head. No. She squeezed my hand. I'm upstairs if you need me. I opened the door. Mom walked in first. Dad followed. Neither of them asked how we were. Neither apologized. Dad got straight to the point. You need to reverse those cancellations? No? He blinked. What? I said no. Mom crossed her arms. You're punishing your sister over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding.
Dad nodded. Lauren didn't mean it the way you took it. I stared at him. So what exactly did she mean when she said my wife wasn't family? Neither answered. Instead, Mom changed the subject. You've always been sensitive. I actually laughed. That seemed to make Dad angry. You think this is funny? No. I think it's interesting that nobody has apologized to Emily. Silence. Then Mom actually said, Well, Emily could apologize too. I thought I'd misheard her. For what? For making things awkward. I just looked at her. After almost 30 seconds, I walked to the front door and held it open. Dad frowned. What are you doing? The conversation is over. You can't throw your parents out. I can. Mom started crying. Real tears.
Or at least convincing ones. I can't believe our own son is choosing a woman over his family. I answered without raising my voice. I am choosing my family. Then I closed the door. That night Emily hugged me. I'm sorry. I stopped her immediately. No. She looked confused. You've apologized 3 times. She nodded. I know. You did nothing wrong. She finally cried. Not because of Lauren. Not because of my parents. Because someone finally defended her. The next day, things somehow got worse. My aunt called. Then my uncle. Then cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Every single conversation started the same way. Why would you ruin Lauren's wedding? I asked every one of them the same question. Did anyone tell you what she said to Emily? Almost every answer was, no. Interesting. Very interesting. So I started telling them. Word for word. You could actually hear people's opinions changing. Some apologized immediately. Others got quiet. A few admitted Lauren had conveniently left that part out. 3 days later, my grandmother called. Now, my grandmother is 81. She doesn't gossip. She doesn't yell. She doesn't play favorites. She simply asks questions. She invited Emily and me over for dinner. When we arrived, she hugged Emily first. Not me. Emily. Then she looked at me. Tell me everything. So I did. I expected Grandma to be disappointed. Instead, she became very, very quiet. After dinner, she opened an old wooden cabinet and pulled out a folder. She handed it to me. Inside were copies of checks, hospital bills, mortgage statements, college tuition receipts. I looked confused. She smiled sadly. Your grandfather helped your parents for years. What? She nodded. They've always lived beyond their means. Apparently this wasn't new. According to Grandma, my parents had borrowed money from nearly every relative in the family over the past 25 years. Sometimes they paid it back. Sometimes they didn't. Then she said something that completely changed how I viewed my childhood. They always expected you to rescue them. I asked why. She answered immediately. Because you always did. I couldn't argue. She was right. Before we left, Grandma grabbed my hand. I have one piece of advice. I listened. Never reward people for disrespecting your wife. She looked directly at Emily. That young woman has stood beside you through everything. Then she looked back at me. If your grandfather were alive, he'd tell you the same thing. Emily cried in the car all the way home. Not because she was sad. Because someone in my family had finally accepted her. Meanwhile, Lauren wasn't giving up. She started posting vague things on social media. Things like, some people only help when it makes them look good. And, money changes people. Friends started messaging me. What happened? I ignored most of them. Until someone sent me a screenshot. Lauren had posted a GoFundMe for her wedding. The description read, my brother promised to help us but abandoned us weeks before the ceremony. No mention of Emily. No mention of the barbecue. No mention of calling my wife. Not family. Just a carefully edited version of events. I stared at the screen for a long time. Emily finally looked over. What are you thinking? I answered honestly. I'm done staying quiet. I opened my laptop. Logged into Facebook. Started typing. Not an angry rant. Not insults. Just a timeline. Dates. Messages. Screenshots. Photos. Receipts. And one sentence that explained exactly why every payment had been cancelled. If my wife isn't considered family, then I don't see why my family's finances should be my responsibility. I hovered over the post button. Emily looked at me. You don't have to. I know. Once it's out there. I know. I clicked post. Within 15 minutes, The comments started flooding in. And that's when it truly fell apart. The Facebook post goes viral within the family. Hidden financial secrets come to light. Jake learns the full truth. Wedding guests start backing out, and Lauren's perfect wedding begins to unravel. I'd be happy to continue it. I honestly expected maybe 20 or 30 people to see my Facebook post. Instead, it spread through my entire extended family before I finished my morning coffee. I never tagged Lauren. I never tagged my parents. I didn't call anyone names. The post was just a timeline. I included screenshots showing where I had agreed to pay for the venue, photographer, and florist. I included the cancellation dates. Most importantly, I explained exactly why I canceled them. I ended the post with one sentence. I won't spend thousands of dollars celebrating people who openly disrespect my wife. That was it. No insults. No profanity. Just facts. About an hour later my phone rang. It was my Aunt Karen. Not the one who had yelled at me earlier. Another aunt. She sounded embarrassed. I'm so sorry. I asked why. She admitted that Lauren had told everyone a completely different story. According to Lauren, I had gotten into an argument over money. She never mentioned Emily. She never mentioned the family photo. She definitely never mentioned calling my wife. Just someone you married? Aunt Karen sighed. If I had known the truth, I never would have called you selfish. I thanked her. Before hanging up, she said something interesting. You're not the only person Lauren has lied to. That sentence stuck with me. Over the next 2 days, more relatives reached out. Some apologized. Some stayed quiet. A few admitted they had always noticed the favoritism but didn't want to get involved. One cousin even confessed that Lauren had borrowed money from him 6 months earlier and never paid it back. It wasn't much. Only about $800. Still, it painted a picture. Then Jake called again. This time he sounded different. Not tired. Angry. I need to ask you something. Okay. Did you really pay Mom and Dad's mortgage 3 years ago? I froze. I had. But almost nobody knew. 3 years earlier my dad lost his job for several months. They were behind on mortgage payments. The bank had started foreclosure proceedings. I quietly paid nearly $12,000 to catch them up. I never told anyone because my parents begged me not to. They said it would embarrass them. Apparently, they forgot that part. How did you find out? I asked. Jake sighed. Your grandmother. Of course. He continued. She told me you've been financially helping everyone for years. I didn't answer. There are medical bills too? I nodded even though he couldn't see me. Mom had surgery. Dad had dental work. Lauren needed help with student loans. Emergency car repairs. Credit card debt. I had covered more than $80,000 over the past decade. Not because I was rich. Because every time someone said, we're family, I believed them. Jake was quiet for almost a minute. Finally he spoke. I don't think I can marry her. Those words hit me harder than I expected. What happened? He let out a long breath. After your Facebook post I asked Lauren if any of it was true. And? She said it didn't matter because Emily wasn't really family anyway. I closed my eyes. Even after everything, she still didn't understand. Jake continued. Then I asked if she'd apologize. What did she say? He laughed bitterly. She asked why she should apologize to someone who wasn't related to us. That evening Emily and I ordered takeout and tried to forget the drama. For the first time in weeks we actually relaxed. Halfway through dinner the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Lauren. Alone. Emily quietly stood up. I'll go upstairs. I stopped her. No. She looked surprised. If Lauren wants to talk to me. I opened the door just enough to step outside. Lauren immediately started crying. Not sniffles. Full tears. I can't believe you're doing this. What exactly am I doing? You ruined my wedding. No. I answered calmly. You ruined your wedding. She looked shocked. I said one thing. You said the one thing that mattered. She shook her head. I was talking about blood relatives. No. You misunderstood. I understood perfectly. She crossed her arms. So you're really choosing her over me? I smiled. No. I'm choosing respect over disrespect. She stared at me. Then she asked the question I think she'd been holding back the whole time. So, you're seriously not paying? No. What if I apologize? I looked at her carefully. She wasn't apologizing because she felt guilty. She was negotiating. There's a difference. Do you actually believe Emily is family? Silence. 5. 10, 15 seconds. Finally, she shrugged. I mean, that was enough. I opened the door. I think we're done here. She started yelling as I closed it. You've always thought you were better than us. I didn't answer. The next morning, my father called from an unknown number because I'd blocked his cell. I answered by mistake. He skipped hello. Your sister is devastated. I know. Jake moved out. I didn't expect that. What? He packed a suitcase last night. Apparently Jake had gone to stay with his brother. He told Lauren he needed space. Dad blamed me. If you hadn't embarrassed her publicly, none of this would have happened. I finally lost my patience. You think Facebook broke their relationship? Silence. No. Her behavior did. Dad hung up. Later that afternoon, I got a message from Jake. It was short. Can we meet? We met at a small coffee shop. He looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes. Unshaven. Like he hadn't slept. The first thing he said was, I owe you an apology. You don't owe me anything. I should have defended Emily that day. I appreciated hearing it. Then he reached into his backpack and placed a folder on the table. Inside were spreadsheets, credit card statements, wedding contracts, personal loans. I looked confused. Jake rubbed his forehead. I've been paying almost everything. He had taken out a personal loan, maxed out 2 credit cards, borrowed money from friends, and Lauren still wanted more. I can't keep living like this, he said quietly. For the first time, I wasn't thinking about my family. I was thinking about him. Because 6 years earlier, that had been me. Always sacrificing. Always saying yes. Always hoping people would appreciate it. They rarely did. I looked him straight in the eye. What are you going to do? Jake stared out the cafe window for a long moment. Then he whispered, I think I'm going to call off the wedding. And for the first time since all of this started, I realized this story wasn't just about my family anymore. It was about whether someone else could escape the same cycle before it was too late. Hi everyone. It's been about 6 months since my original post, and a lot of people have been asking for an update. I honestly didn't expect to ever post again. I thought the situation would calm down after a few weeks. Instead, everything exploded. The wedding was officially canceled. 2 days after I met Jake at the coffee shop, he called me. He sounded calm. Calmer than I'd heard him in months. I ended it. I knew exactly what he meant. He had called off the wedding. Not postponed. Canceled. Lauren didn't take it well. According to Jake, she screamed for almost an hour, accused him of destroying her future, and demanded he tell everyone it was because of me. He refused. Instead, he told her something she'd probably never heard before. I'm leaving because of how you treat people, not because of your brother. Then he packed the rest of his things and moved out. My parents tried one last time. A week later, my parents asked to meet. Emily asked if I wanted her to come. I told her yes. This wasn't just my conversation anymore. When we arrived, my parents were already seated. For a few minutes, nobody said anything. Finally, Mom spoke. We want to put this behind us. Not, we're sorry. Not, we were wrong. Just, we want to move on. I asked a simple question. Move on from what? Dad sighed. The misunderstanding. Emily quietly looked down at her coffee. I looked at my parents. It wasn't a misunderstanding. Mom rubbed her temples. You've always been stubborn. I shook my head. No. I've just finally stopped accepting disrespect. The first real apology. About 20 minutes into the conversation, something unexpected happened. My dad started crying. I'd seen my father cry exactly once before. At his own father's funeral. He looked at Emily. I'm sorry. Not to me. To Emily. I should have stopped Lauren that day. Emily didn't say anything. He continued. I should have defended you years ago. Mom started crying too. For a moment, I actually believed things might change. Then Mom said, but surely this doesn't mean we're never going to be a family again. There it was. The part she'd skipped. She wanted things to go back to normal. She wanted forgiveness without accountability. Emily finally spoke. We're willing to have a relationship. My parents looked relieved. Emily continued. But only if respect becomes the minimum requirement, not something we have to earn. Either of them argued. Lauren reached out. 3 months passed without hearing from Lauren. Then, one evening, I received an email. Not a text. Not a phone call. An email. It was almost 4 pages long. Most of it explained how difficult the past few months had been, how people judged her, how losing Jake had hurt, how embarrassed she felt. The actual apology was only 2 sentences. I'm sorry for what I said to Emily. I understand now that I was wrong. I read it 3 times. Then I handed it to Emily. She read it once and smiled sadly. What? She pointed to the screen. She apologized for what she said. I nodded. Emily looked at me. But not for how she treated us. I hadn't noticed that. Emily was right. The email focused almost entirely on Lauren's own pain, not ours. I replied politely. I thanked her for reaching out. I told her healing would take time. I wished her well. That was it. Jake's new beginning. About a month later, Jake invited Emily and me to dinner. He looked completely different. Relaxed. Healthier. He laughed more in 2 hours than I'd ever seen during the entire engagement. He admitted something that stuck with me. I kept thinking marriage would change her. Then he smiled. It finally hit me that marriage doesn't fix character. He'd started seeing a therapist. Paid off one of his credit cards. Moved into a smaller apartment. Started coaching youth baseball on weekends. He looked happy. Genuinely happy. Before we left, he shook my hand. You probably saved me. I shook my head. No. You saved yourself? Christmas. The hardest part came at Christmas. For the first time in my life. I didn't spend it with my parents. Emily and I stayed home. We cooked together. Watched old movies. Opened presents. Played board games. Halfway through the afternoon, Emily looked at me and said, "This is peaceful." She was right. There was no tension. No walking on eggshells. No guilt. Just peace. I realized something. Sometimes peace feels strange when you've spent your whole life surrounded by chaos. Grandma's gift. A few days after Christmas, Grandma invited us over. She handed me a small wooden box. Inside was my grandfather's old wristwatch. I told her I couldn't accept it. She smiled. Your grandfather wanted it to go to the person who understood what family really means. I didn't know what to say. She looked at Emily. Then back at me. Family isn't built by blood. It's built by the people who stand beside you when life gets hard. I don't think I'll ever forget those words. 6 months later. So, where are we now? Emily is still cancer-free. Every checkup still makes us nervous, but so far, every result has been good. We recently adopted an older rescue dog named Murphy. He's missing 1 ear and thinks every tennis ball belongs to him. He's perfect. Work is going well. We're saving for our first house instead of paying for someone else's dream wedding. My parents and I speak occasionally. Short phone calls. Birthdays. Holidays. Nothing like before. The relationship may never fully recover. And honestly, I'm okay with that. Lauren and I haven't spoken since the email. From what I've heard, she's focusing on herself. I truly hope she grows from everything that happened. Not because she owes me. Because everyone deserves the chance to become a better person. As for Jake, he's doing well. We still grab coffee every few weeks. Funny enough, losing a future brother-in-law somehow gained me a real friend. Was I the A**** hole? When I first posted here, I honestly wasn't sure. Years of guilt made me question myself. I kept wondering if maybe I had overreacted. Now I know the answer. Standing up for your spouse isn't betrayal. It's marriage. Money can be earned again. Respect is much harder to rebuild once it's gone. If I had paid for that wedding after what happened, I would have sent Emily one terrible message. Everyone else's comfort matters more than your dignity. I refuse to do that. And if I had to make the same decision again, I would. Every single time. Final update. Emily and I celebrated our 7th wedding anniversary last weekend. While we were watching the sunset, she squeezed my hand and said, "Thank you for choosing us." I smiled and told her the truth. I wasn't choosing between you and my family. I was choosing the kind of family I wanted for the rest of my life.